Do you want to top your next big event? I've got 5 tips for you on how to do that, and these are some things that I follow myself. Hey guys, it's Tombox here, and I'm gonna be bringing you guys some tips on how to actually compete better at larger events. So this isn't like a local, it's not about like deck lists or anything, but more on your player mentality and how much effort you actually put in. Now, we're playing to win this time, so you gotta minimize all your misplays, you can't get screwed by tournament rules. And have you ever noticed that a lot of the same people keep on topping the same events over and over again? Whether it be regionals, you see the same guys at the top tables, and a lot of them put in a lot of extra effort, and then at the event they kind of show the results through their practice, and this is why. So let's get to this list. The number 1 tip I can give you to you guys would be understanding the meta. Especially before you go into the tournament, you should practice against these decks very frequently, because meta decks are statistically defined to be some of the best decks of the format, and they are designed to win. And because they're designed to win, you can expect them to be all over the tournament. You might not face them round 1, 2, but 3, 4, and 5, you probably are going to see some of these guys, especially if you go on a win streak. And understanding the 3, 4 decks that kind of shape the entire tournament, you can help yourself by not falling into some of their basic plays, how to interrupt them, knowing their weaknesses, and knowing how to go against them. Whether or not you yourself are playing the meta, or you're playing rogue or anti-meta, you have a better chance by understanding how they play as well. And don't underestimate rogue decks, because rogue decks can surprise you and take a game off you because they can catch you off guard, and you are less likely to know about what they can do. Of course, if you played the deck before, you might have experience, but for those that never had the experience before, you could get caught off guard, and you don't want to let that snowball out of control and turn that into a match loss. So number 1, just understand the meta. It really helps out. Especially, it can help you analyze whether or not you can take that extra bit of damage, whether or not they're within their kill reach, okay? Number 2 tip I have for you guys would be to practice in person. And some of you guys might not be able to do so because you're far away from your practice partners, but if you're able to get into a practice group or find a practice partner to test out meta decks, by all means do so. It has so many benefits over playing online. If you play online, you might get into the invisible coach syndrome where things constantly remind you of what you can activate. Remember, when things have started to resolve, it's a bit too late for you to chain that max C/effect veiler, and boom, that's gonna cost you. Well, but there are certain things that you should pay attention to when it comes to practicing. First of all, the number of hours you practice. The more hours you can get in, the better, especially with different people and different decks, because you can experience more situations in like that long period. Maybe you wouldn't have expected this situation to happen, but the more experience you have, the less likely that you're going to be taking certain plays by surprise and making misplays. And that's going to help you out. Like I heard from Patrick Hoban, I believe he said something like he practices 80 hours just for a large scale tournament, maybe ARG, lots of cash prize on the line. Things that when you're playing for an objective and you're playing to win, this is what it takes. You have to dedicate hours to it. Other things to pay attention to is don't be a salty loser when it comes to losing in practice. The whole objective of practicing is to learn. You have to learn all the misplays available. You have to learn what your opponent is capable of. Learning is your key goal here. And if you're a salty loser, no one's going to be wanting to play with you. And it's also a bit sad, this is a sad fact, that if you're playing a rogue deck, less people would want to practice with you because they don't see the practice as being valuable. And sadly, I kind of agree, because they're less likely to face off against your deck. Maybe if he plays against your matchup, he'll be able to destroy you because he understands how your deck works, but it's not really helpful to constantly play against a rogue deck when you're mainly going to be challenged by the meta when it comes to the late rounds of the tournament. It is true, I hate to say it, but you're more likely. It's just chances, right? Chances are you're going to face more meta players near the end of the game. Or sorry, near the end of the tournament. Now, if you're not salty and you're, being a nice practice partner, now when your opponent has game on board, don't just scoop it up and be like, all right, let's move on to the next game. Let them finish their combo, because at a main event, like a large event, well, let's just say not everyone's just gonna auto scoop, and if they trip over their own win, you're literally throwing your game at this point. You don't want to throw your game, especially when the game is already in the bag. Know how to perform your combos, and that's actually how I kind of got one of my draws back in one of the previous regionals. I let something slip my mind and I forgot to get one extra search for the win, and that cost me oh, it cost me a match, I guess. Forced into a draw, basically. Let's not go there. Don't want to be screwed over by yourself, basically. So let them finish their combo and let people do takebacks. Like, if you have a situation at hand where it's already pretty hard to set up and you are worried about making misplays, after you finish a certain play, you can just take it back and then try to play it again. Don't play it as if you had knowledge of your opponent's hand or whatnot. Just try to play it out again slightly different to see if there's a different result and seeing if the basic advantages are the same. Like if you gain more card advantage through doing it a different way. A lot of different steps you can take to maximize your practice. And make sure that you practice a lot so you can develop really good habits. So you can play faster, don't play into time, that all helps out. But oh, Tombox, what if the play of the deck doesn't exist until like maybe like 2 days before the tournament? Well, there's a thing for that. It's called proxying. Proxy all your stuff. Like, holy crap, I have proxied so many decks. I've proxied ABCs, I've proxied Invoked, I've proxied Necros, I've proxied every possible deck out there that I believe to be worth practicing for. So just proxy them. All you gotta do is what? What is this? Piece of paper, print it, put it in a sleeve, and then there you go. You have yourself a nice deck. Make sure you back it with a card, and you'll have the similar feeling. And being able to read the card off of the proxy is also very important. Maybe I'll make a little video about that in the future, but get as much practice as you can. But if you can't play online, that's maybe not as great, but playing online does help you kind of establish a lot of the foundational rules about a deck and the mechanics that are used in that build. Alright, so my third tip is very simple. It is understanding your own build. Analyze your own build to find weaknesses. So 2 parts of understanding one's deck. First of all, knowing how to win with it, so all the mechanics and your win conditions, that's part 1. Part 2 is knowing how you lose. Of course you gotta know how you lose. You gotta know your own weaknesses, because if you don't, your opponent definitely will. Your opponent's job is to exploit your weaknesses, and your job is to exploit theirs. And you need to understand how this works. Now, point 1 being, oh man, my opponent's just a Psyche, rip Maxi. Well, Maxi sure is a Psyche card right now because it is at 1, but it is not unlikely they will have it. As long as the card exists, you are likely to get, sacked by a card here and there. But knowing how you lose is very important. Write it down. So for Maxi, say you lose to Maxi, like, well, did you take the Maxi challenge? What would have happened if you did take it? And then, is it worth taking to do the OTK? Can your opponent actually stop you from the OTK? These are the things that you should analyze for. Is your combo really weak at a certain point? Is there an Achilles monster, if you, the Achilles heel, where if it's removed, your whole combo breaks and you're left with a really weak board? This is something that you have to test for. And knowing that your play did go through, what are you checking for? Are you checking for Maxi? Are you checking for Ghost Ogre? Are you checking for Veiler? Are you checking for all the hand traps? What does it mean when your play does go through? So these are things that you have to pay attention to, and that could actually change up how you play. If nothing goes through, does that mean your opponent has a really aggressive hand where they're going to break your board on the next turn and then try to kill you? These are things that you have to analyze for. Is your play extremely predictable? Is it super linear like Monarchs, where if they drop 2 guys, you can expect them to be doing a tribute summon very soon? Are you predictable? All these things add up to how well off you are in your plays, and you can adjust your build accordingly. And of course, there are obviously going to be like 1-card blowout cards like anti-spell fragrances. How do you deal with it? This helps you develop your main deck and your side deck, because 1-card blowups do exist. Like, oh, they have Fossil Dino or Vanity's Fiend. Well, I have no outstat. Well, I lose. How do you mitigate that? You got to start siding for stuff too, right? So analyzing your build will help you fix your main deck and your side deck. And also, when you, one more thing, and when you do lose, try not to like scoop it up right away, because there's a lot of value to actually exploring different lines of play if you did it differently. And sometimes it takes a while to actually set up those boards again. So if you and your practice partner would agree to it, and I would recommend to you guys, try to look past the loss and then try to rebuild the situation and keep going. Once you have everything established, then you can actually play for real matches and try to play for real, so no takebacks, none of that. Understand where's your misplays, what are your bad habits, and go from there. It really helps out. Number 4, understanding tournament policy. It is very crucial that you do understand that you're not just playing your opponent, but you're also playing the tournament, and tournaments have rules. And the quickest tip to give you guys is to declare all your phases, declare your attacks, declare all your effects properly, make sure they're activated properly, don't try to soft cheat anyone, and make sure your opponent has ample time to respawn. Ask them for their response. Only when they pass priority by saying, okay, no response, then you continue your play. And from there, you're less likely to get rule sharked. Because rule sharks will exist and they're going to do everything they can to take advantage of your game. If you speed play or slow play, you could get caught by a rule shark. And if you slow play, they're going to call judge on you, get a warning. It's going to suck. If you get called again, you're going to get a game loss. And for speed players, you're playing too fast so that your opponent cannot respond to you. You're like doing all these combos. What if your opponent actually had a card to interrupt you with? And if you play too fast, to the point that where you revealed certain cards in your deck that shouldn't have been revealed if your opponent interrupted you, and you did not give them response time, and you're starting to lie to them, I have like no respect for speed players just because they're trying to play so fast to the point where your opponent just like, even though they have the response, they just didn't get the opportunity or window to actually activate something in between. So these guys are basically cheaters at this point. Now, if you are going to be playing against like tournament policy, just know that don't tell a judge what to rule. Like, oh man, he did this and he deserves a game loss. If you tell them that, there is a rule against rule sharking itself. If you tell people how they should rule, you will be DQ'd in most cases. At least if you do that to me, if I'm judging an event, I will DQ you if you tell me how to rule something, because I believe that you're rule sharking intentionally. But that does not mean that you shouldn't call out your opponent. If they're shuffling your deck and all of a sudden things splatter all over the place and then they reveal your deck, don't tell them to pick it up and just call it a day, because they now have like an advantage over you, whether it be accidental or not. Just call a judge over and let them handle the case from there. So just bear in mind that the judges are there to make sure that ensure fairness in your game. Remember back in Zexal where Shark looked at his opponent's deck? Yeah, like Quattro, I believe, and then yeah, he got DQ'd out of that event and he was no longer allowed to play in the Pro League or whatever. And number 5, well, don't be afraid to call a judge. A judge is there to help you. Like the previous example, if your decks get splattered all over and your deck's revealed, call a judge over. Don't do things on your own. If you drop a card, call a judge before you pick it up, because they can declare you as cheaters because, well, they are not sure of what's actually under the table and they didn't see anything. They have to keep their eyes on the board. Call the judge over. The judge can vouch for you as you pick up your cards. Don't get screwed over by the judges. And if there's a ruling dispute and the first judge gave you something that you believe to be the incorrect ruling, don't be afraid to appeal. It does help. I've actually had to appeal at least 3 rules back a couple years now, where there's certain cards that are ruled wrong by one of the regular judges, because even judges make mistakes, but the head judge, after he has his final say, don't dispute it because he will kick you out of the venue for unsporting conduct. And the judges are there to actually ensure fairness, so once the head judge has his rule, let's hope that he's consistent all the way through for the rest of the tournament, so you're not the only one sharing that ruling, okay? And of course, don't lie to your judges. If you're found out, you will be banned for a very long time. And you're not trying to get banned when you're trying to win, alright? It's not worth it. And those would be the 5 tips I would give to you. And that would be the 5 tips I would give to you guys to practice competitively and aim to top for your next event. Hopefully these tips help you. A lot of it's on you on practicing, but these are some of the things that I do. I love helping out people on their practice and everything and understanding the meta early beforehand. Basically a Yu-Gi-Oh nerd at this point. Nerd! It is what it takes to kind of get far in this game. If you guys like this video, hit me up with a thumbs up. Share this video to your friends that are trying to perform better or trying to shift away from casual to more competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! It would really help them out. And now I will proceed to the end phase. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please drop us a like so we know we are doing a good job. And you can also subscribe to MST.TV for more fantastic videos by clicking on the button on the left. Don't forget to check out our partners at Imperium Duelist. They make really high quality mats, including some of my own limited edition release stuff. And if you want to check out one of our past videos, click here on the right. As always, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV, and I'll see you next time.